I'm not trying to generalize men in particular that they don't have a relationship with God, but I feel that women always like take the initiative to talk to God.
Hi, Shine. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay. So, can you tell us a little bit about where you are from and then how it was over there?
I'm from a tiny island called Saipan. It's in the Pacific.
Okay.
It's a lot of people are not familiar with it, but it's like 45 minutes away from Guam, and it's near Japan. So it's just a small tiny island.
Okay.
It's literally a dot on the globe, or on the map.
So, how long ago did you move to the U.S.?
I've been here for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and have you
since-
been back already?
I haven't been back home since 2010.
Why? No time?
I believe when the time is right, I'll go home.
You'll go home. Okay.
Yeah, I'll go home.
But then, what were the ups or the downs that you maybe encountered being here in the United States?
Coming here, definitely, as we all know, land of opportunity. There's so many different variety of jobs. So definitely, I came here for the opportunity to better my education. So I went into pursuing my education because back home there's a level of education that is not offered that California had to offer, or the mainland itself. So that's one of the ups. The second one I would definitely say would be like there were so many options and choices as far as jobs.
Yes.
So that even came into play. Like I could definitely see myself like expanding my future, not just for myself, but for my children.
That's right.
So that's one of the ups. And then the third one I would definitely say is like bringing up my children here.
Okay.
So they were exposed to a lot of things, you know, of course, good and bad, wherever you raise them.
Exactly.
But it's a land of opportunity.
Yes.
Like they had so many choices to choose from.
Yes, yes.
So, and some of the downs that I encountered would be I'm alone here. Like I didn't have family. So when I was pursuing my education, I was by myself. Another down was that when I was growing up, we lived in a house. I wasn't used to the idea or the norm of living in an apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I would be like, why?
Even renting an apartment, because you say you own lands over there, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just the thought of like living in an apartment, and then I felt like I didn't have my own space. Like I lived in a house where I was allowed to like make my own rules. In an apartment, like I felt like I was sharing it with other people.
Wow, wow.
So that was one of the downside to it.
Wow. So you mentioned that, you know, just not having your family around, did you feel sometimes like alone or lonely actually?
Definitely alone.
How did you cope with that?
Alone because I didn't have like someone to give me advice, someone to like help me with the kids. But one of the coping mechanisms that I had was I had my two daughters.
Yes.
So my two daughters, I was really busy with them. Even as a working mom and a mom going to school, I managed to like take them to the park, and they love to go to the library. So that was one thing that we did a lot. And lonely, yes, absolutely. So loneliness came at night.
Okay.
Like as a normal parent, when they go to sleep, I have to reflect on the things that I needed to provide for them, how I was going to continue achieving my goals for them. So yes, loneliness, definitely.
How did you cope with that?
Loneliness, I worked a lot. I had the girls, but definitely talking to God, like all the things that I wanted to achieve here. I know the things that I had set up for me and the girls, my daughters, because I have two. I saw like some of them start manifesting. Maybe not right away, but there were, you know, as a single mother, I had financial issues that I had to accomplish. So when the girls would sleep, I would like talk to God, tell him about what I didn't like, what I liked, the weaknesses that I have, the strengths that I had. And a lot of the main topic was always concentrated on me getting a better job to provide for them.
Yeah. And then did you always feel like you were close to God even at that moment? Were you going to a church, or did you have like a community from a church where you could from which you could rely on?
No, not necessarily, but I do have a history where when I was back home, I grew up in church. So I didn't know the word of God, but I definitely know that I had a relationship with him just based on talking to him. 5 years into living here, I wasn't going to church. Nobody invited me. I wasn't interested. And towards the end, I would say towards the end of my 5 years, that's when I started going to church, but I wasn't consistent. Yeah, I wasn't consistent, but I can definitely say that me getting closer to God was definitely my third year here. I was supposed to get married in 2013. It didn't happen, but I definitely didn't dwell on that. I didn't grieve on it when I left. I felt like God really prepared me for it. Because there were so many nights that I stayed up and I kept asking God about, should I stay here? Should I marry this man? But one day I just got up and I left. And I felt
with
like...
your two daughters?
With my two daughters. And I really felt like God really like strengthened me to do that. So I can definitely say that was like the real beginning of me trusting him.
Trusting in your walk with him.
Yes.
And then did you finally find a church? Because nobody invited you before, but what happened after?
On my second year of being on my own as a single mother with the girls, we had a lady at work that was always, the funny thing about it is when I think back about it, I'm always thinking like she had ministered to everyone in our work. Like she talked about salvation to everyone, but she never talked to me about it. And I'm just reflecting like in my mind right now, like why? But of course you cannot question God. You know, God has his ways. He knows. So one day she decided, one day the manager asked her if she could do part-time in the office. And she was always preaching about salvation. So one day we went to lunch and I asked this woman like, can you pray for me? And that was the beginning. And then I remember reaching out to her. I will never forget, it was Labor Day in September of 2015. I reached out to her through text and I asked her like, you know that church you go to, like, can I come? And she had told me the time of service. So that was the beginning of me like coming into this new church.
That's amazing. See how God works mysteriously.
And I always reflect like, why she never talked to me? Why?
So how is your life now compared to before? Especially in the area of your walk with God, you know, after you went through all of that, you said you always had a relationship with God, but you just didn't know the word of God. But and then when you finally found a church, then things started changing. So how is your life now compared to before? Are you happier? Are you, do you have more peace? Like, how is it?
Definitely more peace. Definitely more peace, because if I was to compare before and now walking with God, I could definitely say that yes, it's good to talk to God, but knowing his word like really strengthened me. Because now I can always like rely on his word, because of course, when we apply the word, you know, his word is truth.
Yes.
So when I came into this church, the part that God really dealt with his word was, as a single parent again,
Yes.
that problem of worry and anxiety.
Yes. Yes.
So if I was to look back, I would every time I look back, I would tell myself like it was harder when I did not know his word.
Oh wow.
Like now, like when I think of it, I'm like, I want to share that word to other people because them knowing that word would really help them. It really encourages you.
Wow.
And it really burdens me when I think of like other people struggling and they don't know God, because I'm like, man, now that I know God, like there's struggle. Don't get me wrong, there's struggle, but at the same time, like knowing God makes it easier in that struggle. Imagine those that don't know God, when they're struggling, like it's harder for them.
Wow.
So absolutely, there's a big difference.
So what kind of advice would you give to someone who maybe just moved into the US and then they're going through the same thing, like they feel lonely, they don't have anybody, or just someone who's going through the same difficulties that you went through? Like what kind of advice can you give to them?
Well, it depends. Like me as a single mother, I had the girls.
Okay.
But if they're like a couple that's married, I mean, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to generalize men in particular that they don't have a relationship with God, but I feel that women always like take the initiative to talk to God. So my advice to them, if they're lonely, is to find a support system. Had I known that the church was a support system back then, it would be something that I would like reach out to. But then at the same time, main advice, like talk to God, because some of the things that we feel like we can't talk to people because people will just like look at us and think like that's not even anything. It's because some of the things we tell God, we think we cannot tell each other because I would be embarrassed to tell you because you would think like that's so nonsense or that doesn't mean anything, but to God like it means a lot. So just talking to God, because I truly believe in my walk, because I really spoke to him all the time. He gave me that opportunity to like open up a support system, not only a support system, but lead me there. So definitely talking to God. If they don't have friends, like just God is the only one they can really talk to. That will truly understand what they're going through.
I agree. Thank you so much, Cheyenne, for sharing your story. Thank you. It's always good to talk about what you went through, because sometimes people think that they're the only one going through something. And then if they were to know that somebody else went through the same, and then they will learn how that person overcame or got out of that situation, it always helps to share our stories to others. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you.
I mean, I appreciate it, and the only reason why I love to share it is because, like you said, it would help someone. Not only help someone, but it's also helping me. Like it helps to also talk about it,
definitely.
Because we reflect on how far God has taken me.
I agree. I totally agree. Thank you, Cheyenne. Hold up, we need your support. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And why not sharing? We're counting on you.